Massive thanks to the mad lads and ladies supporting the channel. The doggos say thanks.
Hey everyone, it's time for some more Monster Hunter, and today I wanted to talk about dealing with rejection. Now, rejection isn't necessarily something I've had to deal with a lot in the typical sense. I know when it comes to rejection, for a lot of people, what they have to deal with is being rejected in terms of a relationship. Or, being rejected for, I don't know, not being good enough or something. For me, I have dealt with rejection in a lot of ways. I know I've made it no secret that I'm somebody who's been rejected a lot by a lot of people. I've been rejected by, I guess kids as a kid. I haven't any friends growing up. I was rejected by my family, kind of just being thrown to the streets by them. And, I'll say that, just to open up a little bit, I know that a few months ago, I was talking about how I was interested in someone in terms of, a romantic way, and I spoke with them for a while. We got to know each other for a few months. We had a lot of the same ideals and a lot of the same opinions, a lot of the same interests. But unfortunately, it didn't work out. I did approach them finally, and I said, hey, I'm actually interested in you. And they said, well, I appreciate that, but I'm not interested in you that way. And, I told them it's okay, we can stay friends. And I guess when it comes to rejection, I know that it is something a lot of people, and especially a lot of young men, deal with. And when it comes to dealing with rejection, it can really eat away at someone because as a man, you're kind of told to, there is still this stigma around men opening up and being emotional and being vulnerable in today's day and age, even now. It's not as bad as it was, let's say, 10 or 15 years ago, but it is still at a point where, a lot of men are told to just kind of bottle it up, and it's not something you should bottle up and you should deal with. It is okay to not be okay, and it's okay that rejection hurts, because that's normal. I know that my first time with rejection, I was probably in middle school, and there was this high school Latina girl, way out of my league, who I liked. And I approached her and I said, hey, do you want to go out? And she said no. And I said, oh, okay. And that was kind of my first experience with rejection. And, it sucked, but as time kind of went on and, the thought of, oh, well, nobody really likes me sunk in more, that feeling of rejection kind of got worse. So, like I said, I can't understand why it can really hurt and how it really affects people, but dealing with rejection isn't something that you should let define you as a person and just make you think, oh, well, this is how it's going to go every time. Because if you do end up thinking that way, then it can lead to a situation where you just always assume the worst, and it'll objectively make your life worse. The problem with a lot of people dealing with rejection is they'll just assume that no now means no forever. And while no now doesn't always necessarily mean no forever, especially if you, let's say you're interested in someone and you're good friends and, you ask them out and they turn you down, it might not be no forever. You shouldn't expect that. You shouldn't expect it to be like, oh, well, it could mean, it might not mean no forever, because just the same way it might not mean no forever, it might also mean no forever. And if that happens, it's just something you have to respect, and you have to accept, that's just a fact of life. And a lot of people, what they'll end up doing is they'll kind of have a bit of a crash out over it. They'll think, oh, so, you're too good for me, or you don't think I'm good enough, or whatever else. And they'll have a bit of a crash out because they'll take that rejection, even if it's done, very cordially, very friendly, and done with the intention of preserving a friendship or protecting a potential future friendship or relationship or whatever else, whether that relationship is romantic or not. What they'll think is that they'll just attack the person, and because of that, what'll end up happening is that they'll end up ruining it for themselves and just making it a lot worse, and then making themselves look a lot worse. And people just have to accept that they're not entitled to being accepted by whoever or whatever it is that rejected them. And that does include me as well, because if I had that mindset, it's a dangerous mindset to have, and it can lead to things like crash outs. And the next thing you know, you're in the next Reddit, crash out YouTube video compilation of incels or something like that, incels or fincels or whatever else. But even if it's for something like college and you feel like you deserve it, I'm sure there are avenues you can take to improve your chances or go back and get reappealed, but that college doesn't have the right towards you in order to take in or accept you as part of that college or whatever. And there are some people who want to force that, where they want to force the acceptance, but it's not really something that you should do, because that is a very dangerous mindset to have, and it will objectively make things better for everyone, not just yourself, but everyone around you as well. It'll lose you a lot of respect, it'll lose you a lot of friends. And I guess what this factors into me as a content creator is, in terms of rejection, what really made me think about it is I actually lost 3 subscribers yesterday. Probably because I talked about Johnny Somali. Probably because I talked about how him being a black person in a place like South Korea or Japan makes him represent other black people, and him acting a fool can make them think that, okay, so this is how all black people are, in a place where there's just not a lot of black people. And, you know, it is whether or not it was that, or whether it was, you know, this in like the direction the channel was going, or maybe it was somebody who came in watching older videos and then they saw some new ones, they just didn't like it, or regardless of the reason, I have to accept that those people rejected me as a content creator, and they don't agree with me, or they just don't want to keep watching my content. And it does feel kind of bad, it does suck and all, but at the same time, I also have to accept that just because those people unsubscribe doesn't mean they'll never subscribe again, or doesn't mean they hate me, per se, or that they're an enemy, or that they want to attack me. They just don't like my channel, or don't like where my channel is going, and that's okay as well. Part of living with rejection and dealing with it in a healthy manner is accepting that if you are going to be rejected, it's just a fact of life, and that is a pain that you have to learn to deal with. It's kind of similar to loneliness. You can be rejected as a friend, and people won't want to be friends with you, and that can exacerbate loneliness and depression and things like that. But at the same time, if you just don't go out there and even try, you might end up at a point where you could have got that job, or you could have got that girl, or you could have got that guy, or you could have gotten into that college, but you just didn't ask. What I hear a lot of the time is the worst they can say is no. And that is not true. You know, the worst they can say is ew, or gross, or dude, what the fuck, or something like that. And yeah, there can be much more, you know, offensive or upsetting things than no that people could say. But at the same time, there is that chance they could say yes, especially if you establish a relationship or rapport beforehand. That's okay. I'm sure a lot of people, there are some people who I specifically remember were in the channel and who, you know, were subscribed, and I believe they did unsubscribe. There's probably at least 3 or 4 people I can think of from the top of my head, and that does make me feel bad. And I know there's one guy who specifically said, and I don't really see him in the comments anymore, and so, you know, if he is gone, I feel bad about that. But he did specifically say that, you know, there's another content creator who's really, like, righteous and goody two-shoes like I am, and if I got kind of going that grandstanding route, I think he said that he does, he'd unsubscribe. And, you know, that's fair enough. I have done a bit of grandstanding, not because I think I'm better than anyone, but because I want to use my platform and my voice to call out something bad if I think it's bad, or just call out my beliefs and try to bring people together who share those common beliefs. And, oh, my controller actually died. And I don't want this to be an echo chamber. I do want it to be an area where we can have conflicting opinions and just talk about it and talk it out and be respectful of it. But at the same time, I also understand that some people just aren't comfortable with that, and I just have to deal with that. But even so, I just kind of wanted to touch over it because, yeah, losing subscribers hurts, but it did make me think, you know, I do want to talk about sometimes people reject you, even if they've been with you from the very beginning. You know, there are subscribers that have hung around since I first started my channel, such as Snifty being one of them. And if he ever unsubscribes one day, and he even is one of the patrons, and if he stops financially supporting me on Patreon, that's fine. Not because I don't care, but because I have to accept that he doesn't want to be a part of my channel and the direction it's going moving forward, and I have to accept that. And I don't have the right to force him to accept me or my channel, or, you know, to be a supporter or whatever else. I know there's another content creator who I have a lot of respect for, and they pulled support, whether it's because we don't really collab much, we don't really talk much, or, you know, because I've been incredibly busy, or maybe they just kind of grew distant, and that's fine, and I respect them, and I do wish the best for them. But seeing those numbers go down and feeling that sense of rejection of, oh, these people don't like you anymore, it does hurt. But I also know that there's a lot more people who do want to stay a part of the channel and who do want to continue moving forward and who do want to, who accept me for who I am. And that kind of helps soften the blow. It doesn't negate the pain that rejection, that, people wanting to be away from me or part ways or whatever else. It doesn't make it hurt any less, but it also shows me that just because some people reject you, there are people out there who will accept you for who you are. No matter how small the audience, no matter how few the group, people will accept you for who you are as long as you try to be a good and decent person. Because even if you try to be a complete jerk, a total a-hole, there are people out there who will still accept you for who you are. Partly because they're all a-holes as well, but even so, I don't know. I don't want to promote that sort of narrative where it's okay to be just a total jerk to everyone. It's okay to not like people. But you also have to accept that a lot of people won't like you as well. For me, it's okay for me to, be opposed to bad things, no matter the standing, no matter how it might make me look. But I also have to accept that there are people who don't want to get involved. There are people who don't want to hear the same thing a million times that they heard from a million other content creators. There are people who don't want to hear me talk about one thing or another, or who don't like the way I phrase things. Because I'm super autistic and I have zero clue how to be subtle. I can be a little subtle at times if, I kind of know how to, but not really. It's kind of obvious, even if I do try to be subtle. So, yeah, that is something I want to talk about, because it's something that affects me, and I know it's something that affects a lot of people. And I just kind of wanted to, I guess, impart my wisdom on dealing with it, and how I personally cope with it. But yeah, that said, thank you everybody so much for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like on it. Comment down below on how you've learned to cope with rejection and any tips you might have for people dealing with it as well. And leave a comment down below if you, well, I already said that. And subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. If you want to, feel free to join the Discord. We have a Discord linked in the description below. It's mostly focused on Monster Hunter, but I personally won't reject you. If you're a scammer, if you're a pedophile, I'll reject you 100% every single time. I will not accept those kinds of people in my community or in my life because they're horrible, awful people or just completely sick. But if you're just, somebody who just wants to join a group, just to have people to talk with or hang out with, feel free to join my Discord. It's open to the public. Anyone can join. And I won't reject you as long as you be a respectful person in the community, to me, to the mods, to everyone else. I won't reject you and they won't reject you. It's a very welcoming community. And if you want to support the future of the channel, check out my Patreon linked in the description below, or become a member on YouTube as well. Yeah, that's it. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye now.